Good evening. Thank you all again for coming to another one of my speeches and helping me out with class. As you all know, my name is Brent Bruce. I'm a Coast Guard retiree, supervisor at Lockheed Martin, and SPC student. Picture, if you will, you're out of town on work. You decide to go for a jog, and you're jogging along, listening to your music. And then all of a sudden, everything goes black. You wake up 4 weeks later, you're missing your right leg, you have a crushed pelvis, a crushed sternum, broken clavicle, and massive head trauma. This is a true story that happened to a very good friend of mine named Dave Karras, who was out of town on business on August 28th, 2014, and he was doing just that, jogging, and a young girl, 19 years old, was texting and driving in a mall where he was jogging, popped a curb and ran him over and dragged him 500 feet. He was placed into a medically induced coma so that they could perform all the surgeries on him, and then when he woke up is when he learned that he was missing his leg and all his other massive trauma that happened to him. What I'm going to pass out to you is a article about Dave.
I'm sorry, I forgot you were back.
Pass one to the back, please. Thank you. Now, we've all seen it, we've all done it, we've all been driving along, and there's someone careening ever so gently into our lane. And you give a honk on the horn, you think, okay, maybe they're just not paying attention. And then they do it again. So you pull up next to them, and you think you're probably going to see like some 80-year-old lady who can barely see above the steering wheel. And you get up next to them, and lo and behold, it's a young person driving and texting at the same time. And if you're like me, it pretty much drives you crazy. So with that being said, I'd like to give you some data and statistics tonight about texting and driving. It's also known as distracted driving, because it's my belief that we should have more stringent and more strict laws. And I hope it becomes your belief after hearing my speech. And I hope we have more strict laws to combat this and to dissuade people from texting and driving. The Center for Disease Control reports that 9 people every day die because of distracted driving. And I'm sorry, but I can't help but think that if this was any other sort of inanimate object that caused people to die at the rate of 9 people every single day, that this would be total outrage in our community. It would be in the news every day, but it's not. Other items that kill people at people's will is in the news, but for some reason, people pick up a text or people pick up a cell phone, choose to use it while they're driving, and cause fatalities, and yet we really don't hear about it. AAA as well has reported that distracted driving accounts for 16% of all fatal crashes in the United States, roughly 5,000 fatalities every year. And the American Journal of Public Health reports that across all age groups, the age group of 15 to 25 is 3 times more likely to be involved in a fatal crash because of distracted or driving while texting. So why not do something about it? We do have laws already on the books that talk about or that deal with texting and driving. And a little bit, what I'm about to tell you will probably surprise you. But I'd like to read the Florida statute verbatim, so please excuse me while I read this because it was kind of hard to memorize, but it's not that long. A person may not operate a motor vehicle while manually typing or entering multiple letters, numbers, symbols, or other characters into a wireless device, or while sending or reading data on such device for the purpose of non-voice interpersonal communications, including but not limited to communication methods known as texting, email, and instant messaging. This law is Florida Statute 316.305, and it's considered a secondary law. What's a secondary law, you ask? Secondary law is a law that basically says that it's not illegal unless it's in conjunction with something else that is illegal. So, in a nutshell, you could be driving down the road, there could be an officer next to you, and he could see you texting, eyes off of the road and everything, and he cannot pull you over. Sounds a little crazy, right? Well, that's what secondary law is. In other words, he has to see you skip lanes, veer up on a curb, careen into someone, or possibly just plain old have a crash before he can cite you for texting and driving at the same time. So, my position is, why would we have a police officer wait or have to wait to see something happen before he can pull you over? That makes no sense. That's, that means what? He's got to sit there and watch someone have a fatal crash before he can pull someone over and cite them for texting? That just doesn't seem right to me. Lenetra Bennett of WCTV reports that House Bill 1 and Senate Bill 246 that were put into for voting last year would have made that law a primary law instead of a secondary law. Therefore, if you're caught texting and driving, you could easily be pulled over. There would not have to be another reason to pull you over. If they caught you texting and driving, they could pull you over. However, both of these bills died in their respective voting periods. For whatever reason, I do not know. I looked and I researched and I tried to find out what it was, but they didn't pass. The transportation bill was the one that killed the House Bill number 1, and the, I believe it was the, sorry, I can't remember what it was that killed the Senate bill, but it also died. Some people would argue that this would violate their civil rights, or their rights period, to be able to do whatever they want in their vehicle if this law was to become a primary law. But it's my position that we need to press our legislators, that texting and driving shouldn't be an easy option. It shouldn't be so easy for people to text and drive and not even think about the consequences that they could inflict on other people who are innocent. Now, if it was a situation where it only affected them, they were the only people who would crash, okay, fine, let it be that way. But we know that's not the way it would ever be. Whenever you pick up a phone, text and drive, and you take your eyes off of the steering wheel, it's typically 25 seconds that your eyes are off of the steering wheel or off of the road in front of you. That's plenty of time for innocent people to get dangerously or fatally killed. So, in conclusion, we need to press our legislators to make this a primary law, to overcome whatever language it is that's in these laws that they don't agree with, why the bill died. But it needs to be a primary law. Our officers don't need to wait to see something happen or for something to go wrong to be able to pull people over for texting and driving. It could happen to any one of us out there. Anyone could be texting, driving, talking on their cell phone, and it could affect us quite easily. And with that, that is my conclusion. thank you for coming again. And Regina, if you could please critique me, I'd appreciate it.
All right.
Bravo.
You have to go up there.
Yeah, you have to
Okay.
sign
Oh,
this
I can
cover
just, do you just want me to turn it on her?
there. Sure.
Just there,
Whatever she
Regina.
wants.
Okay. All right, so let me see here.
I gotta stop
So-
texting and driving. It
Clear-
scared me.
Clearly. Okay, so first I'd like to start off to say that your opening was very strong. It's clearly a subject that you feel very strongly about, and that definitely comes through in the way that you speak. The anecdotes that you provided were especially nice. The history about you and your friend, the point of view practice with a little story, that was a very good thing that you did right there. Your voice and your diction was also at an appropriate volume for addressing the room and the number of people that you have in the space that you're working with. So good job on that.
Thank you. But
Yeah, yes, we're getting there. You also, something that I noticed that you don't do, that I do a lot when speaking in front of people, is that you don't move around a whole lot, and that's actually a good thing for the most part. You don't like shift your weight from side to side, you don't pace back and forth. Left to my own devices, I will do that. You're really not supposed to. Something I would like to encourage you to do more of is gesticulating with your hands a little bit. I know you had your notes in your hand to keep track of where you were going, but talk a little bit more, gesture, so especially because you were telling the story, you know, like the hand movements in car crashes and texting and driving. It allows for opportunities for visual ways of speaking with your hands, crashing, talking, texting, that sort of thing. So let me think. Your opening in your middle was very strong, but you might want to practice and revise your ending a little bit because it's a little abrupt. And while yes, your points are very strong, again it ends very abruptly. You kind of want to lead into your ending a little bit more. Good job.
that's it.
Yes. Oh, and yes, more eye contact with the room, less staring at your notes. There you go.
And then,
All right.
All right,
Who
that's
else?
Anybody have any questions?
Anybody else have any questions?
Nope.
what did I do wrong that anyone else saw?
it. You took the class.
I don't think that counts.
No, I'm joking. You've done a great job.
No, I think she's right. Your ending was not expected.
Right. Okay.
Your ending was not expected.
And
Yes.
give it some wind down,
All right.
Yes.
basically.
You wound us up,
No pressure.
but there was no wind down. Yeah, other than that, yeah,
Good job.
All right. Thank you.
thank you.
Yep. Thanks for coming, everybody.